Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the 808 Podcast. It is a podcast where I interview business owners, CEOs, and whoever else I feel like. 4 questions, 8 minutes and 8 seconds, because 808 looks like Bob. And here we go. Question number 1 in a few sentences. Tell us who you are and what do you do?
My name is Mark Pillar. I'm the founder and CEO of Backendless.com, which is a company that provides a platform for building mobile applications. I've been a technologist and an entrepreneur for the past 25 years. This is my third successful company. And I'm just here to be a part of the show.
Love it, Mark. Question number 2. What advice do you want to share? Go.
All right. So a lot of people are asking questions, how do I build an app? And there is a proliferation of a lot of platforms these days that provide an environment to build applications without coding. So we see a lot of people coming in who do not have any programming background, and that is fine because that's what those platforms, including ours, provide. The advice is whenever you ask yourself how to build an app, do not jump to the technology. Do some research. Figure out just the basics of software development. However, when it comes to the actual app, start with user experience. Start with the mock-ups, with the storyboard that depicts the user experience of what users see on the screen. And then go from there, define your data models, define your database, and start creating the actual interaction between the user experience, the UI, and the backend.
So that is very important. There also one thing I like to say when people talk about app building is I want to ask, what is your goal? Because if your goal is to make money off the app, or is it to provide an add-on service? Those are completely different things. What do you think about that?
It is definitely important to keep the goals in mind. However, if your goal is to make money versus your goal to establish yourself as an authority center, it will come down to grabbing users. You got to have real users using your app. And your users will come if you have, proper business model, if the pricing is right, but more importantly, if there is a user experience that makes it trivially simple to solve a specific problem. So first of all, rather than establishing the goal, the goal needs to be there. You got to think about what problem you solve and how do you solve it in the best possible way.
Perfect. Can you give me an example of someone that you worked with that when they were showing you what their idea of a user experience was, you did a switch and that was successful?
Such as customers using our...
Yeah, well, like a customer of yours that you worked with. Can you give me an example of yours says, hey, you have this idea, let's switch it to this, and that made it better?
Well, for example, one of our customers is a company called Match to Win. In fact, it's a free game that you can just download from the App Store that just as you play gives you an opportunity to make money. So they captured that user experience in a fantastic way where it's very engaging and you kind of know exactly where you are and you know how to progress through the game. And that would be a perfect example of what you're asking.
Perfect. Let's get to question number 3. What other top CEOs, business owners, or influencers that you know are successful, just like you, that you want to give a shout out to?
I'd like to give a shout out to a very close friend of mine, my mentor, someone that I've known in the industry for quite some time. His name is Graham Glass, and he's the CEO of a company called Cypher Learning. They are in the ed tech, educational technology space. So definitely recommend bringing him to your podcast.
Perfect. I'll look him over down here. Number 4, the final fun question. Mark, tell me about your first sale.
The very first sale in my life back when I was a child was actually selling fish at a fish market, at a pet market. So that was kind of my take on entrepreneurship. And I started breeding fish and then going to that pet market and selling. However, my very first sale, being a technologist, building the software, was actually to National Rifle Association.
Oh, nice. That is cool there. So bonus question. When you were selling the fish, did you ever say, I got fish?
No, because that was pretty obvious right in the stand. Everyone who would pass by saw that I was selling fish.
If you catch the reference, bonus points to you and bonus points to everyone else who caught that reference. So there we go. Okay, so you've got 3 minutes and 53 seconds left. We can do some promo time. You can ask me a question. You can talk about the weather, or the best know when to be concise and when to end. We end early. Go for it, Mark.
All right. Well, quick comment about the weather. I'm in Texas, and we just finished having our rolling blackouts, which was just completely surreal experience. But something that I would like as far as the promo time, backendless.com. If you guys are thinking about building an app, whether you know how to program or you don't know how to program, it is a universal platform that gives you an ability to build mobile and web applications without any coding. It doesn't mean that if you are a plumber and you decided to build apps, it's going to be easy for you. You got to understand how to think algorithmically. You got to understand how to break a problem into smaller problems. But the system is there. It's very intuitive. You can build beautiful user interfaces. You can integrate it with a super scalable backend. And we have a ton of other customers that are building and running highly scalable applications on top of our platform. So backendless.com, check it out.
Perfect. You pulled it off, Mark. 4 questions in 8 minutes and 8 seconds. Why is it 8 minutes and 8 seconds, Mark?
Because 808 looks like a bomb.
Perfect. You said it there. Say your website real quick.
Backendless.com.
It's in the description. It's magic. Mark, thank you so much for being on. Tip of the hat to you.
My pleasure.
And for everyone else watching or listening, I am legally required to tell you to like, share, comment, subscribe, thumbs up, ring the bell, whatever the heck the social media network tells you to do. You all have a wonderful day now. Talk to you later. Bye.